This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for spending time with me again today. I am chatting with Veronika again today because she would like to pick my brains about book publishing. So, Veronika, tell us more. Do you have an idea for a book, and how can I help you with your questions?
Yes, hello everyone, and thank you for this meeting, Melanie, and thank you for brainstorming with me or giving me the answers to my questions. So yes, I've always, I've always had this thought or dream, you can say it's a dream, to publish a book, and I have a really, really good idea. The problem is I've had this idea for almost a year now, and I don't know if it is because I'm afraid, to approach a publisher or, to share my idea of a book, or, I've been really busy. I think, since COVID started, life was just also so topsy-turvy. I mean, myself, I had COVID, I was hospitalized, so I was ill for a very long time, and actually that would have been an ideal time, to put everything together, a draft or something like that. But yeah, the thought didn't cross my mind, and it was actually something that you said or did in one of your live sessions that I joined in with, that made me realize that I have to do it now. But the thing is, I have so many questions. I don't want to approach a publisher with, coming from the wrong angle, because you only have one shot. I believe you only have one shot, to get this right. And I think my main question, before I start, I think that's why I didn't, that's why I procrastinated and keep on putting it off, is for me to put the whole thing together or a draft together is going to cost me money. It's going to cost me a lot of time. I mean, I just edit images or artwork or papers, and it takes me a long time to do that. And I don't want to put in all that effort just to be disappointed. So for me, the first thing that I would like to know is there still a market for hardcover books? Is it still worthwhile to put in all that energy? And of course, it's nice to be published. It's nice to be able to put next to your name, I'm a published artist. But, if it's not going to be financially viable, I mean, you don't want to make R2 a book, things like that, So that's my first question. Do you think with all the online communities and everything that's going digital, if it's still worth it to approach a publisher to do a book?
So that is a fantastic question, because you're asking, is there a market? So I would say, is there a market in South Africa? Is there a market globally? That's something you need to explore.
Mm-hmm.
Book publishing has changed since I published my books, because it's much easier for a writer to reach an international audience. There is a school of thought saying people are reading more than ever. If you see how many writers are self-publishing on Amazon. Most authors that I speak to have got a story of how the book served another purpose. So if you are just publishing one book to make lots of money, very unlikely to happen. Your first book particularly will probably cost you more resources than you will ever recoup.
Yes. Yeah. See, my idea for the book is I've always helped people, And it's in my nature. I was born like that. I cannot say no to people. They send me hundreds of emails asking me, can I use this product? Can I do this? Give me an idea for this. And, you know, to a certain extent, it really burns me out because it's difficult for me to just turn people away. And I know that I have to do it. And to a certain extent, I am doing it because I'm referring people just to a website, or, you know, instead of explaining everything. But I've always helped people, and I have it in me to help people. So my book is not, I mean, I don't want to become rich. I mean, I don't mind if I don't anticipate to become a bestseller or, you know, famous or things like that. For me, doing the book, as long as it's not costing me money, you know, like I don't want to spend 10 or 20 or 30,000 rand, and then at the end, you know, everything will be at a loss. But for me, the idea that I have is aimed at the South African market, specifically, although I do a lot of business internationally. My idea is to help people in South Africa, creative people, not necessarily artists, but creative entrepreneurs. Now, I'm not going to say more because, I mean, I'm pretty sure you know where this is going. I've had a huge, enormous success with everything that has happened to me in my life. You know, I think I've said it to you before. If people have to know my real, true life story, they would be amazed that I'm sitting here chatting to you, selling my artwork internationally, earning money in dollars, you know, things like that. But for me, I've always wanted to help people. And I think people can learn a lot from me. You know, one thing that bothered me a lot when I started my first business was not a creative business. It was actually a manufacturing cosmetics company. And to do that business was really a learning process for me, and it was really a hard road that I walked because so many people was not willing to help you. I don't know if it's a nature or in our culture that if we have knowledge and we do something, that we just want to keep it to ourselves. Now, I'm not talking about revealing trade secrets. I'm just talking about helping somebody to get on their feet, or, you know, like publish a book, or you know, where to sell your art, or where to buy the best, most cost-effective products to manufacture, or, you know, like when I did the cosmetics. It was really tough for me, but I made it. I had a successful business, and I sold it for profit to one of my agents in Zimbabwe. And, you know, so for me, I just want to, everything that I've learned over the years and all the successes, but as a creative entrepreneur, I want to be able to help other people. And I thought a book is really a good thing, you know, so I don't know what you think about that.
So I think a book is always a good thing because I'm a book person myself. And again, you need to go to who's your market? Do they want it? Can they afford to pay for it? So the kind of book you're talking about, perhaps you could get funding from a CEDA or a CETA or some sort of a government organization if it's a powerful training tool. The other thing I always have to ask is why? What is it for? And could you do it another way? So as somebody who wants to teach, my first attempt was to make books. Then my second attempt was to make ebooks because they're more easily distributed. You don't have the same warehousing challenges. Then I moved on to online courses because now people can do it on their cell phone from anywhere in the world. I still get pushed back into doing live workshops because some people enjoy that one-on-one experience. So as a teacher, there are different ways to reach your audience, and you need to find out, you need to figure out really who do you want to reach, why do you want to reach them, and how do they consume information.
Mhm.
So a book for me in retrospect has become like a very fancy business card.
Yes.
People
Yes.
still expect you to give it to them for free. They go away going, oh, this is very fancy paper, it's printed on.
Yes.
And it raises your kind of status. You become known as a reputable source once you've published a book.
Mm.
But
Sorry?
if it's about reaching people, then I think you need to speak to the people you want to reach and find out how they're consuming information.
Mm-hmm. So the other thing I wanted to ask you is, because you've published in South Africa, how easy is it to work with publishers, or do they, obviously they take most of the money because they put in all the so I don't know, do you think, because I've read online that a couple of the publishing houses, I don't know if it's true, but that after COVID they've closed down, or things like that. So I don't know how easy it is to approach them, or to if they still are they still publishers in South Africa. I mean, that's
so that's a fantastic question. Metzpress, who I publish with, are not taking on new authors. There are some titles that they update every year that are their bread and butter, that they're going to continue to do, but they're not taking on new authors. They're not putting out new books. That's for a number of reasons. The couple who run the business are a bit older. They've got older parents that they're looking after who are very frail. So there's been a lifestyle change in the family. Aside from the fact that books are not selling, they're not selling at the rate of cost of warehousing, because a big print run of books you have to be able to store somewhere safely where it's dry for possibly years, and that comes at a cost. So the publishers don't actually make as much money. Although an author gets a very small royalty on the price of a book sold, the publisher also bears all the risk and those month-to-month costs. So if they get lucky and the book sells out in the first 6 months, that's amazing. But if the book takes 15 years to sell the print run, they're looking at a very, very, very different scale of mathematics. And the reality is that it doesn't matter who you are or how well you think a book is going to sell. If it doesn't sell as well as you've hoped, you've got a problem.
So would you say, in your opinion, that it's better to look at self-publishing online through somebody like Amazon?
So I think if I had to publish now, I'd definitely go with Amazon Print on Demand. And that's simply because I've managed to expand my networks internationally. So there are probably more people overseas than in South Africa who would buy my books.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting with a very interesting situation at the moment. My first book that I published with metzpress has come to an end. We have no more stock in South Africa. Metz are not making any more. It is still available print on demand through Amazon. However, Amazon are not shipping to South Africa.
Yes, that is the problem.
So now my South African students can no longer get hold of my book in this country unless they can find a secondhand copy.
Yeah. And for me personally, I don't buy digital books. I'm sorry. I like to have the book in my hands, go through the pages, go back to it if I need to refer to something. I know, a lot of people don't have a problem with digital books, but for me, a book that's got a lot of visual images in is okay. It's I can't even read a digital magazine. I need to have, and I think there's a lot of people like me still, but I don't think it's enough. You understand? So I don't know. So that's why I was in two minds about doing something digital. And also, if you have a book that's 300 pages or 400 pages, you can't just expect everybody to print, from home on a inkjet or something like that. So I don't know. I'm really conflicted about this, but I'm determined that I'm going to do this.
So what if you had to put them together as a series of ebooks, a series of PDFs that you could drip feed to interested people, and then if they ask you specific questions, you just send the PDF for that specific answer.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea. Yeah.
And then you sell the answers for a price. Would be a different way to package it. You would completely control the IP. It wouldn't be. So you would do smaller volumes, but then you would be responding directly to that email that you're getting. You wouldn't be creating a document and putting it on Amazon and now hoping to connect people to it. You would in response to those emails you're being sent, you would then say, I have this answer for you. Give me $100 and I'll send you the PDF. Or give me 20, whatever you decide to sell it for. And it's digital content, so you know what the perceived value is and what price point they can afford. So there's different ways of packaging it. An ebook can be anything. It doesn't have to be something with an ISBN number that's sitting on Amazon. It can be it can just be a simple PDF that you send out to people. And what you're describing also sounds to me like a learning process. So you might be able to sell a subscription program also. It doesn't have to be a book.
Yes.
So I hear you like the book, and I hear you want the book. The people who are going to buy it, who are going to benefit from it, can they afford to pay for it? And what compelling reason do they have to buy it?
Yes, I know the answer to that, but I'm not going to share it.
Okay.
Because then I'm going to give out my idea,
Yes. So as long as you can answer those two questions, that you have a market for it, and then also try to figure out how big is that market realistically. Yes. So if you only need a print run of 500 books, then that's quantifiable. You could go to a CEDA or a small business, some kind of a government organization, and say, listen, this is the project I have. These are the benefits. This is the number of people we can benefit. So in terms of getting grants and things like that, if you've got a project that is well defined, so you'd be able to say, okay, 500 books at 80 Rand a book. These are the people we can affect. Then you can very likely get funding from them, and then you just put it through a print shop in South Africa.
Okay, and then if you do it yourself, how do you go about distribution? Do you just advertise it on social media, or
so that's
how easy is it?
So that's going to be up to you. If you want to self-publish, then you need a place to warehouse the stuff, and that can be for years. And you've got to literally think about, like, how much space is 500 books going to take up. And you want to keep them dry and in pristine condition, so that if people buy them in 5 years' time, they still look new.
Yes, no, I know.
So that's the first thing you need to consider. Then you need to consider how fast you can reach people. Absolutely. So yes, on social media, and you'll find that a lot of people will say, oh, that's fabulous. But when it actually comes to spending their money, that might be different. And then how are you going to handle that process? If a lot of people do buy books, how are you going to handle the invoicing process? Is there a way you could automate that? So that's the advantage of doing an Amazon, even if you do Amazon digital, because then all of that invoicing is automated. So if you find a lot of buyers, then that's all automated, and then you get one payout from them. Whereas if you sell the books yourself in South Africa, then you've got to have that invoicing process, and there's work attached to that. So how are you going to streamline that? So very often for me with these things, it's all about distribution and payment channels. So how are you going to receive the payment? How's it going to be recorded, and how are you going to declare that to the taxman? And then what systems and structures do you need in place, and how much work is it going to take? How much of it can you automate? And then on the flip side of that is distribution. How do we get it to people? So if you're using an Amazon channel, then all of that's automated. As soon as they pay, they get the goods. Whereas if you're sending from South Africa one by one to these people who are emailing you one by one, is it going to be a one-on-one relationship where you then say, okay, here's your invoice, send me proof of payment? So it's that ease of payment and ease of getting the product to customer that you need to consider. And that would be how I would look at it, is the practical of getting it done. Because for me, those are always the two pain points. Are payments. How does that happen? How does that happen for your customers? So if your customer is on a lower LSM, a lower income bracket, they may have challenges with payments because they don't have various payment options that you might want to use, like credit cards or something like that. So it's a very valid conversation to have, is to find out from your potential students how they would pay and how they would like to receive the information. Do they want a hard copy book, or would digital work for them? Are you able to do that kind of research and ask them those kinds of questions?
For me, the thing why I haven't done that before is, once you start putting things like that on a platform like social media, then, you will have a lot of people that will try to do the same thing. That's why I've been reluctant. That's why I've been reluctant to share that, I have this idea and that I want to do this. Because unfortunately, and I'm not saying, I'm not generalizing or anything, but we all know that once you do something that is good or different, you always have people, I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but there's always fights on social media about copyright and people stealing other people's ideas. And, that's, I don't get involved in those type of things, but in the creative community here in South Africa. And that's why I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, saying this, but that's why I like doing business, internationally. Here in South Africa, people can fight about petty things. You stole my idea, you are painting this the same way as I am painting this, and you are painting your angel wings like, it was my original idea. And that's one of the reasons why I'm reluctant, to do research online and say, this is what I want to do, would you be interested? Because somebody out there that is probably, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but somebody out there might have all the resources, all the financial aid, and all the money in the world, to be able to do this. And then before I know it, then somebody took my idea and, my dreams are shattered.
So I feel like there is a whole other conversation we can add on to this one around copyright.
Yes.
And maybe
Yeah.
it's one we should schedule for another day when you're not so working
Yes.
towards an exhibition.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's terrible because and the thing is with online, the answers that you get is not always the right answer, or people make up things and they spreading false information, like in one particular case, a person did copy another person, and everybody told her that she's allowed to do it, she can do it. I mean, there is it's somebody's intellectual property, and to a certain extent the law protects you, but I get so tired. I never get involved, but obviously it comes on my timeline and I see these things where people just get so petty about and then there's a lot of mudslinging and things that they say. Then I think to myself, we live under the same sun, let's just I don't know, maybe I live in a different space, but I can't get involved in things like that. I don't understand why people, I'm not going to say that I'm going to give out all my ideas. Obviously, I'm not going to show people how to do my sculptures because that's my bread and butter. But if people come to me and ask me, I mean, I've had a lot of people ask me, in the cloth collective, ask me, will I show them, will I teach them, will I share patterns? And then I privately message them and say, I'm sure you understand that this is my livelihood. This is my income. For now, I'm not ready or prepared to do it. Perhaps one day, I might get tired of doing sculptures or stumble across something different that I'm going to be interested in. And, the people are happy. But, some people would block people or say, swear at them and say, bugger off. And I can't understand why people are like that. I really can't understand. That's what I'm saying. I'm probably living in a bubble or something like that. But yeah, so.
So I'm from the school of be kind on social media. Be kind or don't use it. The world's unkind enough. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't, I mean, there's a lot of things that I don't agree with. There's a lot of things that I have an opinion about, but I don't get involved because it's not, first of all, I believe it's not my place. And secondly, I don't want to get pulled down into a endless abyss of, fighting and things like that.
So we have 2 more conversations ahead of us once you've done your exhibition. One is about copyright, and the other one is how to behave on social media.
Yes, yeah, no, that's
Fantastic.
one thing that I can't understand is it's like the one thing that I hate about YouTube, I don't know if it's still there, but the one thing that I hate about YouTube is that thumbs down dislike button.
Yes.
So I hate that button. For the love of me, I can't understand why they would put it up, because now you get somebody that eventually plucked up enough courage to make a little video of maybe a piece that she painted or he painted and put it up, and then 1 million people go and they press that button and they shatter that person's hopes and dreams. If you don't like it, just move along, just move to the next video. That's how I feel.
I love that attitude. I love that attitude.
Really. It's like, why on earth do you want to shatter somebody's dreams? I mean, there's a lot of things that I don't like, but I don't go and put on there, oh, you can't do art, or, I mean, I've had that once or twice on Instagram. This one man told me that my sculptures look like a grade 1 pupils make better sculptures than what I make. And instead of replying to him or reacting, I just blocked him. It's the best thing to do. It's just move on, block him, move on. I mean,
absolutely.
It's an opinion. So
absolutely.
So anyway, we will chat about that later.
So Veronika, have I answered your questions about publishing for today?
Yes, I know I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I know what to investigate and
Okay.
do a little bit more research on.
Okay.
For me personally, I know that online is probably the future and the direction that everybody's moving towards. But there's just something about having a hard copy book in your hands. And I think to have that in my hands would probably mean more to me that I materialized or realized a dream than to make money, to be honest.
Then make the book. Then make the book. And here's some more research that you can go and do. So publishing houses work in different ways. Metzpress have got a template that they like to use. And then they get their authors to fill the template, and they even gave us a photographer. So one of the other reasons they've stopped making books is our photographer passed away from kidney failure. So we're all very sad about that. Nobody really wants to make books since Ivan's not around. So some publishers do it that way. They'll give you a structure, they'll give you the photographer, they'll give you the resources, and then you co-create a visual work that they know will sell. Other publishers like LARPA want you to come with everything complete. So that's your copy, your photographs, everything has to be finished. And if they like your finished work, they might publish it. In my experience, getting hold of the publisher is the biggest challenge. They have gatekeepers, they have processes because they get so many people banging their doors down asking to write for them. So I know that with metzpress, you kind of almost had to know someone to get in there. And I luckily got to meet one of their authors at a show that I did. There used to be an event called Keen on Crafts, and there'd be 40 teachers in one place for a whole weekend. And I luckily met a metzpress writer there, and she introduced me to Vilsia. So other writers are a good way in if you can meet them and make friends with them and find out a bit more about the particular publisher that you're working with. I have also heard horror stories where authors have put out books and been very unhappy with what's happened with them, where they've essentially bought the book back off the publisher in order to secure their own IP for whatever reasons that they've had fights and things. So my best advice to you is if you don't feel that the publisher is a really good fit for you, don't do it. So rather, and weirdly enough, the way I found my publisher was I literally went into bookstores and looked at the books, and the ones that spoke to me, that when I held them, I was like, this is what I wanted to feel like and smell like and look like, were always metzpress books.
Yes, a lot of my books that I've collected over the years about art and crafts is published by metzpress.
Yes. So sadly, I can tell you they're moving into a cycle kind of away from bookmaking. So they might take somebody new on, but you'd have to be very, very impressive with your content and convince them that you'd be able to sell all the books that you can make. And book publishing is not if you build it, they will come. If they don't come, those books get sold on sale, wholesale, like cheap, and then there's that £2 you were talking about earlier. And worst case scenario, if they can't afford to warehouse them anymore, they will destroy them.
Sure. Yeah, that's heartbreaking.
Yes. So, and never mind what that does to the planet. That's been a huge resource to bring together to then just destroy. So you need to consider how badly you want this thing, what it's for, how long it's realistically going to take you to sell all the units that you want to print. And could there be another way of doing it? Could you, I don't know, could you print 100 hard copies? You do a small run of them and then you do the rest digital or something, whatever will make you feel satisfied.
Yes.
But while
Yes,
mitigating the risks, you know, maybe do print on demand with Amazon and get yourself a couple of copies that you can hold and smell.
Yes. Yeah. So now I have a few things to consider, but first of all, I just need to finish for my exhibition.
So while we have everybody watching, tell us where we can see your exhibition.
Okay, so it was always a dream of mine to have, you know, to exhibit in a gallery in South Africa, because from the first day that I decided to be a full-time artist, I sold internationally. I mean, I've exhibited in Melbourne, in Australia, and, you know, I have a huge international market, but I'm a patriot, you know. I love, despite everything that goes on in our country or in the world, I love South Africa and I love who I am. And my, you know, I'm an Afrikaans speaking South African woman. And that's also why I entered for Kunstvleit, is because I knew once my face was on the TV, you know, people would recognize me and recognize me as an artist. So, you know, that was my main goal. I wanted to win, but that was my main goal, is just to be on TV. So in the interview with KykNet, I said that I wanted to, you know, it's a big dream of mine to do a solo exhibition. I mean, it's bad enough or difficult enough to get into a gallery exhibiting with other artists, but I had, you know, my bar was very high. I wanted to do a solo exhibition. And then in the beginning of last year, I was on Kwela with my textile sculptures, and they mainly did the insert about me because I use a lot of recycled material in my artwork. Now, you know, it's difficult to tell people that I use recycled material because they look at what I sculpt and they can't see, you know, it's hidden because it's inside. I always tell the people that my sculptures are the world's most beautiful dustbins, because all the dry, you know, like cellophane and plastic and everything that is bad for the environment, this, you know, that like the tablets, the pills, that silver backing for your pills. I mean, it takes hundreds of years to disintegrate into the earth. So I use a lot of that. So Kwela did an insert about me, and then the curator of the now I have to think of the right word in English, of the National Heritage Museum Gallery in Potchefstroom, which is one of the prominent galleries that they use when they feature artworks for Art Club. She contacted me. And at first it was like almost surreal because, you know, I thought, not that I thought it was a joke or anything, it was just so, you know, out of all the galleries in South Africa, she contacted me and said that she would like to do a solo exhibition of my artwork. And then I got COVID and I was ill, and, you know, I recovered, and I kind of like, I didn't forget about it, but it was not on my list of priorities. And she WhatsApped me again and she said to me, come see me. I want to exhibit your artwork.
Oh,
and I'm serious. So I went and I had a meeting with her. I took some of my pieces, and they've been so helpful because, first of all, I'm self-taught. So I don't have that, you know, when you study art after, you know, in university, you get, you know, you're part of that whole culture of, you know, art, and you know the lingo and you know how everything works. So she's been very helpful in guiding me, you know, to do everything the right way. And they're going to do a opening night for me, and you know, they covering all the costs for it, and I'm so excited. So it's going to be at the Cultural History Museum Gallery in Potchefstroom. It's the one right next to the library. and it's going to be the whole of April and the whole of May.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Congratulations.
and I've got over 140 pieces that
Wow.
I made for this exhibition. Yes, and we spoke about it before the time. So art, when you go into galleries, some of the pieces that you see, you literally stop breathing if you see the price. So I told her that I want to be able to bring my artwork to everybody that loves it. So I've literally sculpted pieces from 350 Rand to 12,000 Rand. So there will be something for everybody. I've always believed that. Even in my international market, I do that. I always, when I sculpt for an event, I always make sure that there is something, so if you can't afford a big rabbit of 3,000 or 6,000 Rand, you can buy a tiny little one for 400 Rand. So yes, I'm busy with that. So and April is school holiday, so I hope a lot of people will go, because it is mostly animal sculptures, and even if you don't buy them, they are absolutely beautiful to look at. I'm busy with owls. And I just sent my two partners, I sent them an image of them sort of like halfway through. They're not finished yet, but even halfway through, at a certain point, they get character. It's like they're quirky. The head is tilted, or, and that's one thing that my American customers always say to me, that it is amazing that I can create character with textiles, with fabric. I mean, it's easy when you work with clay, to make an expression, but with textiles, it's not always that easy. So I sent them an image and they said they love them. They just want to kiss him. And I said to them, me too. I posted online the other day that one of my rabbits, no eyes, nothing, just the features, the body, but already have so much character. And I posted online that it will probably be silly for other people, but I keep on kissing that rabbit on the nose. I don't know why. I love him so much. I keep on kissing him. And so many people wrote back and said, I love that you love him. It's
Cute.
Yeah, so even if you don't want to buy art, or if you're not into sculptures, it'll be a nice outing, and it'll be really nice to, I'm busy making a giant octopus that is going to literally take up 2 by 2 meters on the floor. So it'll be worthwhile just going to take the kids and see all the animal sculptures.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a wonderful story. Thank you. I hope to see pictures of your exhibition when it all happens.
Yes. I will, of course, when you exhibit in a gallery, they prefer that you don't put the images online, but I'll take, sort of like a broad view, and afterwards, after the exhibition, I will obviously sell them online, so they will go up. So but I've already had so many of my international clients say to me, but what if we want to buy? So I spoke to the gallery and I said, I'll send them a digital catalog. If they want to buy, then they can get in contact with the gallery. So, my aim is to target my people in South Africa and get them to see my art. But yeah, so I've got about 450. I counted the other day. It's over 450 animal sculptures living all over the world.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You're an international, what's it, a national treasure.
Yeah, it just makes me happy to know that they bring happiness to people. Of course, I like to get paid for what I do. Who wouldn't? But for me, when I get an email or a messenger and somebody tells me that, I received your package, but I was so down. I didn't want to open it for 2 days. And eventually when I opened it, I just saw this little figure with arms reaching out to me, and it made me so happy. And I always cry when I read these messages.
Sweet.
It makes me happy that what I make brings happiness to other people, and they love to send me images of where they put it in their homes. And I have this one, she actually became my friend, and she bought one of my hairs that's sitting down, sort of like on the edge of a shelf with legs, hanging down. And she keeps on moving him around in her studio, and takes pictures wherever he goes.
Oh, I love it.
That's the other thing. All my sculptures gets names, and they get a little story, So the moment I find character in them when I sculpt them, even if they don't have eyes, then my mind starts working at what to call them, what to name them. And so I love what I do.
That's wonderful. It makes talking to you such a pleasure, seeing your enthusiasm and your passion shine through. So I see we're out of time.
Okay.
Thank you so much for another wonderful conversation. And
yes, it was lovely talking to you.
For another inspiring window into your world. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. And you too. I hope that one day we could meet in person. I would love to spend some time with you.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Don't worry.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much.
Have a beautiful day.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.